Good evening, ladies and gents. I'm at 1812 in Bournemouth. I'm with a hero of mine for many, many years. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Alexander O'Neal.
Hey, Paul. How you doing, brother?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Hello. I got a letter from Peter.
Oh, right.
I got a letter from Peter. He's all right, isn't he? Isn't he? You know, you do sometimes, Paul.
So you love England that much,
I love England that much.
You love England that much. Okay. So Alex, everybody knows who he is. I'd like to ask you, start off by asking you, your first band, Enterprise, and then you went into Flight Time. You moved from Mississippi when you were 20 years old.
Yes.
To
I moved to Chicago.
That's right.
To Mississippi.
And you started in a band with, then it was Flight Time, right?
Well, I left Chicago, and then I went to Minneapolis.
Right.
And so, I was just playing around in a lot of local bands.
Yeah.
And the first band actually that I had in Minneapolis was a band of my own called the Black Market Band.
Okay.
Yeah, because we wanted to get into the music scene in Minneapolis. Well, at that time, if you didn't know anybody, you really, nobody
You're on
knew
the black
who
market.
you was. You were on the black market, basically. But that was the first band, and then I got into another band called Enterprise.
Right.
Band of Pleasure. And it was a great experience. Morris Day was the drummer for that band. We had a lot of great musicians because Minneapolis come from, it's a wealth of great musicians. We had a lot of great musicians come out of Minneapolis, and it was a great experience being in the local music scene in Minneapolis.
What would you say created all these great musicians coming from Minneapolis?
I think Paul, probably we were hungry.
Yeah.
We were hungry.
Oppression?
And we were hungry and we were oppressed.
Yeah.
Because Minneapolis is a very unique city in America and the United States. We are very interracial.
Yeah.
And most three-quarters of cities are not. It's like blacks live on this side of town, whites live on this over here, Mexicans over here, Puerto Ricans over here.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And Minneapolis is we're totally diverse. And so, we shared music and we like a lot of different things, and that's, I think, is attributed to Prince's music. Prince, we often describe Prince as the godfather of the Minneapolis music scene. But in actuality, we have guys that have long since set the pace. A drummer who played for Sly Stone for many years, Bill Lawton was his name. And he was a white guy who was a drummer for Sly Stone for many years. Okay, we had a great drummer, have a great drummer. His name is Eric Gavert, who played with Weather Report.
Okay,
a group called Weather Report, a famous jazz group. And I'm probably talking, a lot of you guys probably won't get this, but Weather Report.
They can go and check this out. Check Weather Report.
You check Weather Report, you're going to know that you're deep and heavy when you listen to Weather Report, okay?
Yeah.
And so, in this amount of others, obviously Bob Dylan comes from Minnesota.
Right.
And we could just go on and on. Al Jarreau did a long stint in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So the history.
A lot of soul.
We have the history there.
Yeah.
And we live so far north until it's so different because we live so far north. And to have that kind of thing. Now, what created the real Minneapolis music scene was actually the oppression because black bands could not play white clubs.
Right.
That was a problem in Minneapolis. That we live in an interracial. Doesn't mean that it's accepted all the time. It just means that that's the way it is, and you're gonna have to live with it because where we come from is very Scandinavian.
Yeah.
It's more Swedish oriented. So it's like the Swedes came straight from Europe to America, and they said, "Wow, this is like Sweden. Boom, we'll take this." Okay.
So picturesque and stuff.
Yeah, it was like, and it's so ironic how that happened because all of the Scandinavians basically migrated to the cold climate.
Right.
And they stayed there, and so we get extreme cold. When you get up in our neck of the woods, you get up Detroit, Chicago, Minneapolis, Iowa, Omaha, Nebraska. It's gonna be in the winter. You're gonna get a real winter. So basically, we're so they have that rich history, and but we were having a small black population in Minneapolis at the time, back in the 70s, and 60s and 70s. You know, you didn't have a lot to compete with, right? You know, so you were kind of left there spinning your wheel. All of a sudden, Prince makes it. He gets a record deal. And this is how the music, actually, this is how the birth of the Minneapolis music scene was born. Okay? Remember I said it, you got it here first. When Prince got a record deal, he opened the door and he made all the other musicians.
He signed you to Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah, he made all the other local artists feel that we could make it now.
Brought everybody through, created a scene.
He transcended.
Yeah.
And he brought the Time.
Right.
And Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis.
Yeah.
They brought me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the cycle. Prince, the Time, get fired. I got fired from Prince before I got hired.
There's a song right there.
Yeah, I got fired before I got hired, and there is a song in there.
Right. Yeah.
And Jimmy and Terry, they got fired, which was one of the best things. Look, a lot of good things come out of bad situations.
Yeah. Right.
And you gotta kind of just keep your
negativity breeds creativity.
Exactly. You gotta keep the state of course.
Yeah.
And so it all unveiled. Thankfully today that I have nothing but the utmost respect for Prince.
Right.
And what he's done to the Minneapolis music scene, what he brings to the world.
Yeah.
As well as whatever differences we've had, I think have long been water under the bridge. So, you know, it's a really good thing to be a part of the Minneapolis music scene.
Okay, amazing. So, I want to ask about Fake. You know, when you released that from Hearsay, and it was #1 in the R&B charts, and it also crossed over to the dance charts.
Yeah.
You know, and it was I think it peaked at #7 in the dance chart. Knowing your whiskey's there, grab that.
I was gonna grab your whiskey.
Let's say cheers.
Own.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
How you doing? So
that's what people do at bars.
Yeah.
When you talk chatting at bars,
you
guys,
drink.
you have a drink.
That's right.
That's like normal.
Random. So you know, I was 18 years old. So I think it was at 1987 when Fake first come out, and I remember hearing this record. And I wasn't brought up on R&B, but that record introduced me to R&B because I come from a dance culture.
Okay.
And cut the phone, and just hearing that record and the production values, and was it who produced that? What gave you that insight to make a record so funky that crossed over into a whole new genre?
Well, you know something, Paul. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, when you're working with great producers like Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, I've often said I've never heard a Jam and Lewis song that I didn't like.
Right.
So when you're working with great producers who are basically, we all were at that time basically working for our legacy. We were working, we knew that you only got one thing about this, Paul, in the music industry, you only have one time to get it right.
Yeah.
You can't go back and get it right again.
No.
And if you happen to be working with a bunch of people and you work hard to get it right, that's one thing. When you're working with a bunch of people who just have the magic and have the juice, we had the team.
Yeah.
Our team was so well versed until working with those great producers like Jam and Lewis when we did Fake.
Yeah.
It was when I heard Fake, let me tell you something. When I heard Fake the first time, because they were telling me which songs were mine, and they were saying, "Well, this song is yours."
Yeah.
I was like, "Wow."
Yeah.
And it was like, I hadn't sang anything.
Right.
I hadn't heard any verses, anything. Just music. I said, "This song is yours." When I heard Fake and all the components that we were going to do around it, everything else seemed like a party. It was a snowball effect. One thing happened. They were all natural occurrences. They weren't anything that were contrived or pre-planned.
Just natural.
Natural.
But the record sounds
and
like that.
And it felt like that, and this is the way it should go. And all of a sudden, we felt that we were creating an album that was going to be nostalgic.
Yeah.
We felt like that. Yeah. And we started conducting ourselves like that. So we started looking for all of the little stupid things that were stupid and didn't make any sense, and we were going to make those things, put those in our album and make them make sense.
Yeah.
We're going to make a whole new thing out of it.
I understand that.
Okay? Yeah. We're going to make it make sense.
Yeah.
And it was a nice ride. We rode for 3-4 years on that. It was a very nice ride, and we got a lot of opportunities from that collaboration. It was a great time.
It was, great time. So okay, so you've done 9 studio albums to date and countless live albums.
Yeah.
Do you have any more plans to record at all?
Actually,
this is something personally I'd like to ask you. You know?
Well, actually, Paul, I'm in the studio. I'm always in the studio,
Of
you know,
course.
because even as you get older or whatever,
The music never
we
leaves
all
you.
want to be competitive. We all want to be in the game, and if you're not in the studio and if you're not recording, you're not even
You're
in the
not
game.
in the game. Yeah.
You can perform all you want. You can do the shows, but if you're not in the studio, and if you don't have something significant from a recording aspect that adds to your legacy, then
What you got?
it stops, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
of course.
You've achieved so much, and it stops.
Yeah,
Well,
just
here's
like
the-
that.
Yeah, well, it don't matter. One thing about these interviews, they don't have to be perfect, guys.
Nah, that's right. Would you like a drink then? at
No,
that point?
I've already had one.
Okay.
And that was enough. I had a big one.
Okay.
Okay. But they stop. The things stop if you're not in the studio.
Yeah.
And you have to stay in that. I was hearing an interview with Candy Stanton.
Okay.
And I didn't know that she had did as many albums as she's
Right.
done.
Yeah.
The woman has done like a shitload of albums, right?
Yeah.
And I was, because I'm a Candy Stanton
Yeah.
fan, right?
Yeah.
I'm like crazy Candy Stanton. I
Yeah.
was so in love with her when I was young. I was pathetic. And so I was listening to her, and she was telling me how many albums she'd done, and she's still in the studio. And I was saying, yeah, you go, girl, because I'm still in there myself, right? Because that's the name of the game. You've got to stay in that studio. When you're a more mature artist and older, you can't. Everybody wants to compete.
Yeah.
Okay, and when I see the likes of Chris Browns and Leos and all of the people who are very successful and they might have bad boy behavior and they might have this, that, and the other, and I think about the '80s and I think about, wow, did you
You're
have?
not bad.
Yeah, you did okay. You did okay.
Yeah.
You were okay, and but the thing about it is that you learn that everybody gets a turn.
Sure.
That's the point.
It's taking you to.
You don't get to constantly relive that, and you don't get to live that era the rest of your life. Hopefully, you get another turn.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be a slightly different,
Yeah.
but you get another turn of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But if you accomplish enough for your ego, you really don't need it. But how about this? Who don't want another burst of success? I don't know anybody that don't want another burst
Sure.
of success. But it doesn't validate you, because you've already been stamped, you've already stuff. And those kids and those guys, a lot of these guys, when I was doing my things, they were babies or wasn't even born. And then these guys come up. So when I see their success and stuff, I have a tendency to want the best for them and not to want to go into because it's so competitive, we want to go into the envy thing. And I'll never forget Boy George said one time to me, we were talking, and he said, yeah, so-and-so, and he said, this person is this and that person is that. And they were very successful. He said, but I'm probably saying this because I'm jealous because they're successful and I'm not. Well, it depends on what your definition of success is.
Of course.
So with those things in mind, you have to know that you have to accept the fact that you've been there.
Yeah.
And you've had a turn. And it was a great turn. We open the doors for those guys.
Of course.
To do what they're doing. Those guys come out of the doors selling millions of copies today. We could only sell 500,000.
It's the same as that.
And
small,
then,
right?
and then if you went double platinum in England, you only sold 500,000.
Yeah.
That's double platinum. Now, it would take you'd have to sell 1 million, 2 million to get double platinum in America
Wow.
at that time.
Yeah.
These guys, now listen at the demographics here. These guys come out of the block
Yeah.
already selling millions and millions of copies. Now, if they wrote any of this stuff, period. If, say, here's a scenario. If they wrote all of it, oh my God, when they come out of the block, when it's a success, I'm not going to say if, when it's a success, these guys go to the bank, first checks with millions of dollars. Now, I've had a lot of money in my career, but I've never had it at the same time.
Yeah, I hear you.
These guys have had millions of dollars. I wouldn't know what to do for $20 million at one time.
Gonna have some party though, right?
50 million. You just got a check for $62 million, you know, and this is your first royalty over the world. Because right now, these guys don't deal with certain areas, demographic, they deal with the world.
Yeah.
It's the world. They've changed the whole world. Yeah. Hip hop changed the whole world, brought the world together in a way that it'll never be brought together again.
Yeah.
You know, so it's pretty incredible.
Video killed the radio star, effectively.
Totally. And these guys, by having that much control, so we open the doors, like someone opened the doors for us, like Gladys Knight and James Brown and Otis Redding and Stevie Wonder. Endless amounts of others opened the door for the 80s. They went from the 60s to the 70s, and they opened the door for us. We opened the door for these guys, and the door has been wide open. We couldn't get that in our era.
Of course.
It's like Little Richard in those times would say certain things, and you hear some of these stories from Bo Diddley and Little Richard, Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry was always taken care of because he was always smarter than the average band. But the rest of those guys, you know, there's a lot of hardship stories in the music industry in the world. And the thing is that, you know, sometimes the world dish you out a lot of lemons, you know. But hey, you got to look on the bright side. You got to make lemonade. You got to make lemonade, you know. Make some lemonade out of it. So, which means that, you know, you have to deal with life on life terms. And, you know, there's no hardship stories in the music industry. You have heard it all. But, you know, my thing is, what's more important now than, you know, even more so than music, is trying to maintain my relationship with God, trying to be spiritual as I possibly can each and every day, trying to appreciate life.
What advice would you give to any young person starting out, wanting to, you know, who's perhaps been inspired by yourself or just soul music, or what advice would you give them starting out? Because things are so different now. You know, the pureness of music is harder to, you know, get out and across, if you understand me. So what would you advise them to sort of, you know, how to go about things?
You know, Paul, I'm going to tell you something. I'm very brief and I'm going to thump on this.
Yeah.
But here's the point. Opportunities afforded to us from God, from my perspective. Doesn't have to be true because I said so, but from my perspective, it's afforded to us from God. And I would probably think that maybe along with me pursuing all of my career and the things that I want to achieve, how about pursuing your spirituality first?
Being at one with yourself.
Being at one with yourself.
Yeah, I like that.
Being the best person you can be.
Yeah.
From those things, everything unfolds. Now, this is the truth. I would like to say that I was a Bible thumper or something like that, but I'm not. I'm just telling you the truth. Everything unfolds. And your destiny is going to be your destiny. God gives who He pleases to give to. If He pleases to give to you, you will have it. But you have to be prepared to receive. And that takes your karma. The things that you carry around yourself, sometimes it can dictate the outcomes of your success or your failures. So make sure that you're trying to be the best person that you possibly can be. That's all you can ask of yourself. And then once you have those things in perspective, then you make your morals and your values and you decide the kind of person you want to be in life, and you work on it. It takes work. You don't get it for free. You don't get it because you turn 21 and you're adult and no one can tell you what to do anymore. That's the beginning of it. That's not the end. That's only the beginning, guys. You don't get it there. So you got to keep going. And once you do get it, you know when you got it.
To be rich in life, what you're saying is to be rich in life.
And that's it. That's the whole thing. And the only thing that matters matters today, what we do today. So, you know, you pursue your career with everything you got. But I tell you, it's much easier when you know who you are and have your priorities in perspective, and you know that spirituality, whoever you believe in, it is so very much so important. I couldn't stress the importance.
Exactly.
Without a doubt.
Okay, so one last thing.
Okay.
We're so honoured to have you come and perform at 1812 and, you know, for here tonight.
Yeah.
What should the fans, your fans, expect tonight from your good self?
Paul, I always give my heart and soul, you know, so they can expect the best of Alexander O'Neal for the situation that we're dealing with, you know. And I'm really excited to do this tonight because it's great being here. Barmouth has so much history, and we even know that in America.
You played enough times.
Well, I played it before,
Yeah.
but today I'm beginning to see it's really a lovely city. So looking forward to tonight. So boom, it's going to be kind of right, you know.
And we're gonna have a party.
And we're gonna have a party.